Exactly 8 months after the introduction of the Ghana National Single Window Project to facilitate trade and to secure government revenue, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority is lamenting delays in the clearance of consignments at the ports because traders are failing to comply and provide credible information on time. We speak to the Chief Revenue Officer at the Ghana Customs Division of the GRA and get a reaction from an importer on this particular development. Plus, we'll take a look at the stock market when Bertha Atubiga brings analysis of the stock market. I am Emmanuel Abuaji. We'll be right back with the details shortly. You're welcome to Business Live. On this platform, we take a look at some topical issues on the economy, as well as some business issues trending and how they're affecting our economy. Let's begin it all with a business news roundup for the day.
Joy Business has chalked another milestone with its 3-minute news feature, The Joy Business Van. The segment of the Joy Business Report was adjudged the Entrepreneur Business Program of the Year at the prestigious Ghana Entrepreneurs and Business Support Awards 2016 held Friday night. The awards, which has been running for the past 6 years, is organized by the Entrepreneurs Foundation Ghana, EFG, under the auspices of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. It is aimed at recognizing and honoring outstanding Ghanaian and non-Ghanaian permanent resident entrepreneurs and serves as a motivation for budding Ghanaian entrepreneurs in the small, medium and large enterprises. President John Dramani Mahama on Saturday said the offshore Cape 3 Points OCTP integrated oil and gas project in Sanzule in the Elembele district will generate 1,000 megawatts of electricity daily. The project, being undertaken by Eni Ghana, an Italian international company, will also produce a non-associated gas of 180 standard cubic feet per day for a period of not less than 20 years. This will be tied into Ghana's gas 110-kilometer 20 pipelines to deliver gas to the Abuadze and Tema power enclaves. President Mahama was speaking at a sword-cutting ceremony of the commencement of work on the offshore gas receiving facility at Sanzule in the Western region. He said, Eni Ghana, the operator of the OCTP oil and gas project, in collaboration with Vitol Upstream Ghana Limited and the Ghana National Petroleum Company, GNPC, which were non-operating partners, had joined forces to deal with the energy crisis, which had reduced to its barest minimum. The Veterinary Services Department of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has called for the relevant stakeholders' collaboration to combat the spread of bird flu in the country. So far, 102,760 birds have been infected and destroyed in the country since the outbreak of the disease in 2007, which has been reported in Greater Accra, Central, Western, Brongahafo and Ashanti regions. A deputy director of the Veterinary Services Department, VSD, said at the stakeholders meeting in Sekandi that the spread of the viral disease could negatively impact local and global economies and affect international trade. He therefore entreated traditional leaders, assembly members, religious bodies and the media to join forces to educate the public on preventive measures to curb its widespread. According to him, any country that continued to record bird flu among its poultry population risked being banned by the World Health Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization from exporting poultry products to the international markets. President John Mahama has announced that Ghana's second floating production storage offloading vessel will start production in the second half of the year. FPSO Atta Mills arrived in the country in March this year after successfully completing a 5-week voyage from Singapore, where it was built. Delivering the May Day address in Wa in the Upper West region, President Mahama said the 350-meter vessel will start producing oil from the Trinidad and Unoa Intom 10 offshore oil fields in the second half of the year. The development of the 10 oil fields, located around 60 kilometers from the coast of Ghana's western region, is being led by Tullow Oil together with its partners Anadarko Petroleum Corporation, Cosmos Energy, Petro SA, and state-owned Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. The new FPSO vessel costs $750 million. It can store 1.6 million barrels of oil and has a production capacity of 120,000 barrels of oil per day. Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Spielgabra says government is committed to the growth of the manufacturing sector to enhance economic development. He said in spite of the hitherto challenges in the power sector which affected industry, government was unwavering in providing an enabling environment for businesses to flourish. The sector minister was addressing the media after a familiarization visit to selected manufacturing companies in the industrial hub of Tema. Interacting with management of Nestle Ghana Limited after taking a tour at the company's plants, Dr. Spielgabra said as part of efforts to enhance trade, the ministry had initiated work on sustainable policies directed towards enhancing the country's trade and industry position. President John Dramani Mahama has reiterated government has no intention whatsoever in privatizing the Electricity Company of Ghana, as is being feared by many. Addressing workers at this year's May Day celebration in Wa in the Upper West region, he allayed the fears of the agitating workers, saying, "Let me restate, ECG is and will remain a wholly owned state enterprise." Per the second compact of the Millennium Challenge account signed by the government in August 2014, the ECG is set to be leased to a private company for up to 30 years. Among other things, the move seeks to ensure reliable power supply for domestic and industrial use, improve transparency and independence in the setting of regulated tariffs by the PURC, and improve ECG creditworthiness to enable it to acquire additional generation capacity from IPPs without or with limited resource government guarantees.
Those were some tidbits of business news information on the Business News Roundup for today. Now to the very first issue at stake. The Ghana Single Window Project commenced on the 1st of September 2015. The system simply standardized and harmonized cumbersome trade processes, leading to prompt clearance of goods at the port via a single submission of trade information. The aim was to greatly increase transparency, speed up clearance, and reduce corrupt practices in the system. However, exactly 8 months after its inception, customs officials say traders are rather slowing down the process as they fail to comply and submit relevant data for processing on time to enhance the system. Julius Aweya Kantum is the Chief Revenue Officer, Customs Technical Division and Services of the GRA. Let's now hear what he said.
The real reason why the delays occur are, one, they don't submit the right documents. They don't submit the complete information that is required for us to process and produce the CCVR. In which case, where there's non-compliance, it takes time to verify things, and therefore the length of time, which is supposed to be 48 hours, then extends. But that is not our making. That is because the traders have not complied. So when we talk about 48 hours, it's important to make this point. When we talk about 48 hours, we are talking about compliant trade. That is to say that the trader voluntarily provides all the information that is necessary for us to be able to process and produce a CCVR. In the event that the trader is incapable or knowingly provides what I will call fictitious documentation or falsifies information or provides wrong information, then it takes much longer to process and then produce the CCVR. The traders, we want voluntary compliance. We want the situation whereby the traders on their own provide all the information That is necessary for us to be able to process and produce the CCVR on time. When they do that, the system itself would then reward them, because you can actually move along the ladder whereby your goods can attain a status whereby you would, or your consignments can attain a status where you would not be required to go for any examination. You would just pay and then you take your goods. So we are aiming at increasing compliance, voluntary compliance, and that requires that the traders submit all the information that we require to be able to process the documentation.
Why is it?
This system is a paperless system. So the interface between us and the public is cut off. The trader submits his documents electronically. We do not come into contact with traders. Physical contact is one of the key elements in fostering that unholy practice of corruption. Now, we are here. What we see is electronic documentation, and that is what we process. Our contact with the public is absolutely minimal. And in this connection, we say that, I mean, the opportunity for corruption is reduced.
All right, so that was the Chief Revenue Officer of the Customs Technical Division, Joseph Aweya Katum, who is leveling allegations against traders for virtually frustrating the system. Now, joining us on the line now, we have Adobia Esiama Abuaji, the shipping manager of Japan Motors, who is also who falls in the category of traders, to react to some of these allegations. Good evening, Adobia, and welcome to Business Live.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, I don't know whether you heard from Julius, but he is virtually saying that traders are frustrating the system because they are not providing data on time or relevant information to the customs to be able to fast-track procedures. What is your reaction to that?
Well, good evening once again to your cherished listeners. Well, I don't totally agree with Julius. Of course, I can't speak for all traders. There might have been a few occasions where they might have a reason to say that traders haven't submitted accurate information on their shipment. But I don't think that is the situation on the ground. There are traders who are very, very compliant, submitting documents on time, and are still suffering delays. And the question is why the delay? Because if everything is online through the system, automation, electronic submission, there is no human interface, as he said, then one would expect that you should get your document or your CCVR on time. Again, before CCVR, as in single window came on board, we had the DCNet going through the EMDA portal to work on our IDFs, and then the destination inspection companies working on the CCVR. And one thing we realized with even GNCNet is that they have a support center. When you have issues and you call their support center, you get feedback in a very short, there's that swift response. But it's not happening with customs on the part, that is the CCVR. When you have issues, you either have a mailbox where you could send them a mail or call, and all that they tell you is that, okay, we'll get back to you. That's the end of the story. Nobody gets back to you. So you keep on following up. I believe that if we are actually working on a system where we want to eliminate the human interface to control corruption, then it should be managed properly such that that feedback will be there, that link will be there to assure traders that, look, you don't need to make attempts to physically get in touch with somebody to get your job done.
Now, in the absence of this feedback system, do you still think that the introduction of the new single window system has fast-tracked, clearance procedures in a way?
As in fast-tracking clearance procedures, I can't agree to that in totality, because the clearance in itself is a whole lot. It involves a lot of procedures, a lot of agencies involved. As we speak, the supposed single window is just dealing with one aspect of it. That is the CCVR. Yeah. That is the only aspect it's dealing with now. And I haven't seen that swiftness. Initially, when it started in September, there was a lot of delays, And I must say that we were expecting it because we knew there would be teething problems and all that. At a point, it improved a bit. And recently, there was supposed to be a migration from the EMDA to the PASS to work on the IDF for the issuance of the CCVR. Unfortunately, we realized that there was just that cut-off point, get everything done on PASS, where traders were saying that there should have been a transition. You know, it looks as if we are in a rush. And the question is, why the rush? You cut off traders, and for one whole week, from 18th April to 26th, people who had applied for CCVR did not get them. Their goods were sitting at the airport and the ports. They were accruing demurrage and rent charges, and there was so much complaint. So the question is, why the rush? In the end, if single window comes to stay and get things done better, get all the key stakeholders on board, the EMCAs and other agencies on board, we expect that the system would work better. But as we speak, it is just one aspect that it is handling, and it hasn't improved the clearance system because you still have the manual system that goes on in the port pertaining. And so that is the situation. And then again, the question of IDF coming in. You know, in the past, you used to pay for the IDF as and when you prepare your documents and you're going to pay your taxes. But with the new thing they have brought on board, you pay for the IDF prior to its usage, as if you are buying physical documents and keeping them in your office, pick and use as and when required. And we think for an automated system, this is a non-starter. It's not required. In any case, we are asking the relevance of the IDF as we speak now. Things have changed. We have moved on. So why IDF again? Because the data is in the system. Every ministry should have access to it. If it's for statistical purposes, it is there. What is the essence of the IDF? Is it just about the money, or what is it?
All right, now, Adobia, so 8 months after its introduction, we do wish that we revert to the old system and then get things rightly done before continuing, or don't you think it's an issue of getting adapted to change?
No, I'm not saying that we should revert to the old system. No, we should move on. A single window is a good thing if it works out for the purpose for which it was intended to be. I support it if it's going to work out that way. But if we are going to keep single, it looks like there's some kind of, as I speak, there's some kind of rivalry between the single window as in PASS and GCNet. There are certain things that the shipper has to do at the GCNet end and come to do at the PASS end. We support it. If it's going to work, it should work. They should get the key stakeholders on board to simplify the process for shippers. Because if you import something that requires permits and approvals, you need to go to several agencies. You apply here, you go there, you get them, you go to NPA, you go to Food and Drugs Authority, you go to Ghana Standards Authority to get all their permits. But if they are all on the single window, the information is more of like a deposit, a receptacle. And so all these agencies can pull the information. And the good thing about the single window is the risk assessment, the risk management aspect of it. That if a cargo is found to be of a high risk, it will be there and all the agencies will get interested and track it. Of course, if the cargo is a low risk, then like he said, you should be able to clear it in no time because you don't need to go through all that physical examination. So single window is good, but there should be a clear-cut line on exactly what we want for Ghanaians.
Now, lastly, before you go, has it reduced corruption in any way?
I wouldn't say so. Like I said, it is just an aspect of it. When it comes to corruption, I'm a bit skeptical in speaking about it because corruption will not just happen with a shipper. There should be officers involved to get it done. And it's not just at one point. And so even if it is purported that the human element or interface is removed or eliminated totally at the CCVR level, that's fine. What about the other change that goes on in the clearance system?
Thank you very much for your time at on Business Live. Okay, so Adobia Esiama Abuaje is the shipping manager of Japan Motors. She's been reacting to allegations by custom officials that traders are virtually frustrating the single window system. We're taking a short break here. We'll be right back. Don't go away yet. It's now time to take a look at the stock exchange, and once again I've been joined by regular analyst Bertha Atubiga, who is here to tell us more. Good evening, Bertha.
Hi.
Now, how did the stocks fare last Friday?
Let me say last week. Last week was not a good one, and the market is still exhibiting its bearish sentiments or its bearish movements on the market. And the major indices, that's the composite index, which looks at the average performance of all the listed equities, and then the financial stock index, which also looks at the financial sector or the financial equities listed on the stock market. We have 13 financial equities on the market, so the financial stock index looks at this, the average performance of these equities. We saw these major indices, as the composite and then the financial stock index, dipping further, dipping further into the negative regions. Last week, last 2 weeks, the financial stock index was around negative 10% year to date. It closed last week at negative 11.02%. That is not good. And then you look at the composite index, it's also dipped further from negative 7.53 to negative 8.33% last week. So there's a drop of 0.79% for the composite, and also a drop of 0.95% for the financial stock index. And you look at the worth of the exchange, it came down by 86.43 million Ghana cedis. And if you also want to consider the total volumes of shares that exchange has or traded on the market, we can say there was an improvement comparing it to previous week's trade. There was an additional 800 shares trading, so we saw a total of 2.7 million shares trading on the market. It's a little above 2.7 million shares, and the value of these equities was also at 6.5, which is a little above 6.5 million. That was an increment of 3.305 million Ghana cedis. That is quite positive, but it didn't reflect in the positive price appreciations of most of the listed equities.
Okay.
Now,
so which equities did well, performed well?
Last week, surprisingly, we had only 2 equities gaining and 10 losing on their week opening values.
That's quite significant.
That is quite significant. And you know, most of the losers, apart from Société Générale, that is a French bank, which gained a peso to close at 76 pesos per share, and it's added 1.32% to investors. GUEL, which is under the petroleum sector, was the top gainer, adding 2.03% to investors. And last week, GUEL did so well, and it's one of the equities that's also outstanding right now on the market. You look at the price of GUEL on the market as compared to Total. You look at their fundamentals, that's their financials, it is positive and it's very impressive. And you look at what they are currently into right now. You know, there was a publication that they are going to construct, there's this terminal that they are going to establish in Takoradi, where they are going to serve these vessels with fuel. There's no need going to Nigeria to fuel your vessels or the ships. All you need to do is just go to Takoradi, and you can imagine the revenue they are going to get from this establishment. Okay. So it's also a very positive news, and we are expecting some positive.
We should expect some continuous gains
with GUEL on the market, because their fundamentals, their financials are already positive, very impressive. And then looking at this, that's going to happen. It means that they're going to get more revenue, and we're going to see more impressive financials, and their price is relatively lower than Total on the market. Then you look at the losers table, and it was quite sad, because we saw some equities continuing to lose on the market. Standard Chartered Bank was the top loser in absolute terms. It lost 36 pesos by close of the week, and that was very high. Standard Chartered Bank, you can say the dividend payment is very low. Last year, I'm not talking about, okay, let's say last 2 years, they reduced the amount of dividend that was to be paid out to investors. And then you look at their end of year financials, it wasn't impressive. So the drop in Standard Chartered Bank started last year, and it's still continuing to drop on the market. And then you look at GCB, is also losing on the market. It lost last week by just some few pesos, that's 5 pesos, not significant as Standard Chartered Bank. It also had one equity which is losing on the market. That's so surprising to us. Why would I say it's surprising? Because EcoBank, that's EGH, is one equity that has very impressive financials when it comes to 2015 full year. And then they also declared a very high dividend as compared to other companies, 83 pesos per share. And we waited Well, I mentioned it some time back that the CFO came out to say they were going to give out loans to their customers despite the fact that their NPL has actually gone up. Okay. And then last week, they released their first quarter financials for 2016. And you look at the financials, almost everything dropped. Their profits went down. You look at their NPL from about 4% first quarter 2015. First quarter 2016, the NPL ratio went as high as over 16%, okay. And that is quite huge. And you giving out more loans to customers, it's quite risky. So it's kind of like exposing itself to some credit risks, and that is not very good. But I know it's a very good equity for long term. If you're looking for the long term benefits, you can look out for EcoBank as well.
Now, let's look at the currencies. How did they also fare, and how's the Ghana cedi faring against the dollar?
You know, we are at Gold Coast. We've always said that we expect some level of stability in the short term when it comes to the forex market. That's the cedi's performance against major trading partners on the interbank market. We look at the interbank market. Now, last week, the cedi recorded a weekly gain of 0.96%. That's for the week. It's also gained marginally to the dollar, but depreciated against the pound, the euro, and the CFA. And then you look at the close of last week, the cedi was trading at 3.78, if I'm right. The cedi was trading at 3.78 to the US dollar, and for the pound it was going for 5.53 cedis to 1 pound, and the euro was at 4.32 to 1 euro. So this is how the cedi is currently performing. And this week we're still expecting that stability on the market. We're not expecting any significant change with regards to the forex market. Right. The cedi has actually done very well in the first quarter, and we expect that to continue to the end of second quarter.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For now, and that was Bertha Atubika, our stock analyst, ending the show tonight. Thank you very much for your company. My name is Emmanuel Abwaji. Up next is Focus on Africa. Join us again same time next week for more interesting developments in the world of business. Good evening.